We had established clear rules and consequences for his return home. On Family Day, the counselors warned the parents that relapse was a part of recovery, but we couldn't even conceive of this at the time. They assured us that if anyone could make it, it would be John. Within 3 months, he relapsed. Because addiction is a disease, and sometimes remissions fail. The cruel part of this disease is that oftentimes an addict must relapse several times in order to learn how to properly treat the disease. Like a diabetic who slips on taking their insulin, the results can be catastrophic, even fatal. The 12 steps were the most important part of John's treatment. Daily meetings, calls with sponsors, compliance leads to relapse. And 80% of fatal overdoses occur during relapse. Fortunately, John got right back on to his outpatient treatment and meetings, and he remained clean for the next 14 months. At 12 months clean, we celebrated by joining him at his regular NA meeting with a sheet cake and balloons, and listened to his inspiring words to his recovering friends. They held him on a pedestal, some of them breaking into tears because they were so proud of his recovery. He had a special place in the rooms as a greeter. He made each person who entered the meeting feel special and loved. It was devastating when John relapsed this past Thanksgiving. This time his relapse would last 6 months. We spent quite a bit of time with the pendulum swinging between hope and denial during those 6 months. John promised he would get back on his program and then convince us that he was going to NA meetings and outpatient therapy. But a pattern of missed dinner dates, late or missed work, so many promises broken, overdrawn bank accounts, weight loss, sunken eyes, abnormal sleep patterns. In January, I had heart surgery, and he showed up high in my hospital room. When I asked him later how he could have done this knowing it might compromise my recovery, he simply stated, "My mom had just had heart surgery. How could I not be here?" And somehow I understood. In late May, John's dad kicked him out. When he called, heartbroken, to tell me, I felt like the air had been sucked from my lungs. I knew he had done the right thing. And yet my every instinct was to find him, help him, save him. On April 4th, we received the message no parent ever expects to receive. The message that no parent deserves to receive. The message that no parent is prepared to receive. Our son emailed us to say he was planning on ending his life. What followed was the longest hour of our lives, frantically calling and trying to locate him. Ultimately, he drove himself home. He didn't really want to end his life, just the hell of living his addiction. We took him to Unity Hospital, where he spent the next 12 hours on suicide watch. By noon the following day, they released him with a set of complex home detox instructions because we couldn't find a detox facility that would take him. You see, apparently, heroin addicts rarely die during detox, and they need the beds for other, more deadly withdrawal cases. While detoxing our son at home, we spent the next 72 hours in a frantic search for a treatment center to save his life. We drained bank accounts and retirement savings to get him into a treatment center in Pennsylvania. Otherwise, we would wait 3 to 5 weeks while non-medical insurance company clerks debated the appropriate treatment and coverage. Imagine waiting this long to admit a loved one for cancer or diabetes, only to learn days later that they would only approve the first 10 days of treatment. Shortly after our son went to Caron Treatment Center, and in the midst of a spiraling depression, I committed myself to doing all that I can to end the discriminatory treatment of people afflicted with this debilitating disease. I knew that this would require that I come out of the dark with our family secret. Because until we remove the stigma, the shame, and the secrets, we can't begin to tackle the real issues. I helped fight for the recent New York State legislation, which was signed into law on June 24th by Governor Cuomo. It is only a start, but it's an important start. For one thing, insurance companies will no longer be able to deny treatment coverage for addicts seeking treatment. Treatment plans will be determined by substance use disorder professionals rather than by insurance clerks. Detox facilities will be given funding to establish appropriately medically supervised detox. I'm also a founding member of a group of moms, dads, and family members devoted to helping families navigate the painful and often traumatic journey of dealing with a loved one's addiction. Family Recovery Network's mission is to connect families with each other, to share knowledge, notes, and personal experiences. We are families helping each other to connect with a wide range of recovery resources and professionals within our communities. We intend to host most monthly events on substance and disorder topics. And in fact, our first event is on October 25th, an overdose awareness training, which will include training on naloxone, the heroin antidote that reverses overdoses and saves lives. I also volunteer in a needle exchange program in downtown Rochester in order to help prevent the spread of HIV and hepatitis, often associated with sharing a needle. Programs like these have reduced the spread of injection-spread diseases by as much as 80%. I don't know what the rest of my story is, but I know that regardless of my son's recovery journey, my fight will go on. This is my story. But it doesn't end here. And I hope you take more from this day than just a sense of being on the fringe of a terrible epidemic. Everyone in this room has the opportunity to do something to reduce the stigma of addiction, and that's where it has to begin. You may also have the opportunity to save a life. You may not believe this, but I'm here to tell you that you can. How? Number one, by recognizing the signs and speaking up. If you believe you have a student in your class, or a friend, or an advisee who may be using drugs, speak up. Today you have the opportunity to decide how you will deal with such issues as a university community. I implore you not to wait for an overdose situation to get involved. Chances are good that if you suspect a student is in trouble, she is. Offer your compassion and your trust. Offer assistance for treatment. Number two, get involved. Build awareness. Find ways to interact with students about the risks of opiate drug use. No one starts out wanting to be an addict, but 15% of your student body has the predisposition to become one. Abstinence is the only guaranteed protection. 3, get educated. Learn about the disease of addiction and the effect on the brain. Know the risk factors and the warning signs. On average, our medical doctors receive 3 hours of addiction training in medical school. You will learn more than that here today. Speak out against the injustices of how addicts are treated in our community. You would not tolerate this behavior towards cancer survivors or other people afflicted with other diseases. Today, you will learn about the daunting statistics of opiate use, skyrocketing heroin use, and overdose by deaths, as well as drug-related incarceration statistics. but you will also learn about recovery. As I said, my story is a story of hope. This time, I would like to introduce you to my hero of hope, my son, Jonathan Kesher.
That is definitely a tough act to follow. And it was all about me. This is a tough thing to talk about. It's a tough thing to watch, and I was there for all of that. And when my mom first started doing this, she told me, being asked to speak here and being asked to speak there, and I was like, I don't think I'm crazy about that. The idea of putting our information out there, our name out there. And she was like, I understand where you're coming from, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'm really grateful to her for that, because I, on my own, would never have the courage to be here for something like this. My mother, on the other hand, is a fierce woman, and I'm so proud of her. I'm so grateful to her for everything, for still being here through all of this. I don't think I could ever explain how grateful I am, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm really proud and grateful to be able to tell you guys that today I have 5 months clean. And for an addict like me, 5 months, it is what it is. It's a one day at a time thing. And 5 months is something to be proud of, because there was a time where if I went 5 minutes without using, I was sick. I was getting very sick. And that fear of that sickness is what drove me to do the things that I never thought I could do, things I never thought I was capable of morally. I've been asked by non-addicts or normal people, why we don't just stop using and what that compulsion is like. And the only thing I can equate it to is like that feeling when you're underwater and you're trying to get to the top fast, and your body starts trying to breathe on its own, and you start getting that physical feeling that you cannot fight, just that reflex in your chest. That's what getting high was for me. Eating and sleeping and being a productive member of my family were all at best secondary. Feeling better. I wasn't even getting high towards the end. I was just maybe not being sick, and that was, that was great if I could achieve that. I didn't believe this was a disease for a long time. I thought I had a broken moral compass. I thought that the idea that I was sick sounded great, because then it wasn't my fault that I was doing these terrible things and putting my family through these things. But the truth is that I've realized is that I was a very sick individual, and that doesn't excuse the things I did, because regardless of why, having that effect on my community wasn't acceptable. And today, being given the treatment I've been given, there is no more excuse for it. I know a solution, and for me, that's the 12 steps. And I'm not going to say what program I'm a member of, because one of our traditions is we don't promote. But if you're interested in knowing more, you have something you're worried about, please come see me after, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Because my last day of using, when I sent out that email, was spent in my car. I had slept in it the night before. I hadn't eaten in a few days, and I had to go to Subway and ask them if they would give me a sandwich that maybe somebody didn't want, which they were nice enough to do, which was great. But that's where it took me. I was in my car. I had no gas left.